Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. As promised, I'm going to explain the plugins that I brought up in the new Black Friday deal video. So this request is from our guy Arthur Clark 5662. He says, I need the video on L2 Pro MB Pro Q and Saturn 2. So I promised that any plugins that I mentioned, if you guys wanted a video, let me know. So we're going to do L2 MB Q and Saturn 2. So firstly, let's add Saturn 2. It's a saturation plugin. And this is great for drums and vocals, but today we're just going to focus on drums today. So the cool thing about Saturn 2 is that it's multi-band. So let's say I want to add saturation to like just the low end to beef it up a little bit, or like the snare. I'll click on the low end, turn it on. And what most people don't know is the modulation tab. I learned this from Sage Audio. Shout out to Sage Audio. We're going to do what's called an envelope generator. You don't need to memorize this. I'm just showing you stuff. Grab this little blue dot, drag it to the mix level. Turn this little blue range up to 100%. Turn the mix level down to 0. So basically every time the kick surpasses a threshold, which we set here, it will saturate the kick. So that's basically how it works. Okay, so we're going to mess with the threshold. And then we're going to mess with the distortion amount. So it's only saturating when the kick goes beyond a certain point. So the ghost kicks don't get the saturation, but the hard kicks do. Now it's on the low, so I'll make it affect everything. So I'm exaggerating the effects so you can hear it. Pull it back a little bit. So basically every time the kick and the snare hit harder, it's going to add a little more density to the track. Nextly, let's add a FabFilter Pro Q3. This is my favorite EQ period. It shows you values in the bottom left. Click this keyboard. Another thing is go to analyzer mode, turn on collision mode. This will tell you where frequencies start building up in one specific spot. I also have this other mode on, which is the purple spectrum grab. All right, so the way we do this basically is I switch the mode here to natural phase. Now, if I want more beef in my kick, I'll just double click. The cool thing is it's very fast. It's very easy to move around fast in here. So I'm just going to add 60 Hertz. We're going to turn off the little keyboard thing. And then we're going to boost this 4 dB. And then we're going to use the mouse wheel to tighten up the Q, it's called, so that we're focusing just on 60 dB. And I'm going to boost until that kick really comes through. Let's push the saturator a little bit harder. So now I can go back to the original sound itself and turn up the channel volume. This is going to push the volume into the saturator as if it were a tape machine. So the harder I push it, the more grit we're going to get out. Now for this type of track, here's a pretty unique spot. Now warm tape saturation is probably the best preset on this entire plugin. Also, a lot of people forget to turn on high quality mode. Whenever you're adding what's called harmonic content, you need to basically oversample it so you don't add frequencies that you don't want in the sound there. So long story short, we're going to put it on high quality mode. It will change the sound. So now our drums feel a lot louder. Now let's work on the sample. So you said Pro MB and L2. So Pro MB is great for just trying to figure out problem areas in your mix, or if you just want to tame an area. So let's just what I love about it is the solo feature. So I can click here, just kind of listen around. So let's say I want this area to be a little more dynamic. I'm actually going to switch it to expand mode. And we're going to have the attack fast, release fast, and I'm going to set the range here to positive 2 dB. So now every time this signal goes above the threshold, it will turn up the volume, which makes the body of the guitar sound more bouncy. Now, if a signal is too, like it moves around too much and you want it to just stay still, we can also compress. So let's say we want the lows to just kind of sit there. So I'll just solo the lows. We're gonna lower the threshold. And then we're gonna lower the attack so that it starts right away and increase the release so it hangs on to the sound. Another thing is the look ahead feature. This basically increases the accuracy of the multiband, in short. Let's pull this down. So now we're gonna pull the threshold down so that it's actually pulling our signal down. Oh, I have it on expand mode. Let's switch this back to compressor mode. So as you can see, the volume is going down every time that low frequency passes this specific point. So I want it to basically be on the majority of the time. Because I'm recording, I have to increase my buffer here. All right, so video messes up the screen a lot. Anyhow, so that will keep that low end kind of sitting there. You can also increase what's called the ratio to create more of a limiter sound. Basically 10:1 ratio is like a limiter. And that will just have the volume kind of just sit there. You can also turn it up to compensate. So now that low end is like just, it's very linear instead of like boom, boom. It's not jumpy anymore. It's like dun, dun, dun. It's not jumping around anymore. So that's how we make it feel more linear, is we compress it a lot and then we turn up the volume to compensate. So let's do a before and after. Here's before. Let me turn it up a little bit. Here's before. Here's after. See how it just stays there? And because it's gonna stay there, that guitar is gonna stay there, now our other stuff like the vocal and the drums can be more dynamic and more fluid and bouncy. And that's what creates that ability to add more dynamic to a sample. So that's great for like sample stuff. And now I can turn up my drums because now we have a lot more headroom because I shaved off the top end with that saturator. Last thing I'll add to this mix is an L2. So L2 is really good. I would use this on vocals, but I don't have any vocals ready right now. So we're gonna just right click, route to this track only. Now, would I master a beat this way? Maybe for YouTube, but I wouldn't tell you guys to just slap a limiter on everything. So Pro L2 is just really good. Basically, you just turn up the gain, turn up the look ahead, and then turn up the gain. Let's do it before and after. Here's before. Just listen to how thin the sound is and how just kind of all over the place bouncing wise it is on the guitar sample. Let's turn the effects back on. Okay, so now the mix has like a density, it has an identity. Let's do before one more time. It just feels very thin and hollow. All right, let's turn the effects back on. Let's do it one more time with this new effect on. Let's turn it off. So we're sitting around -8. Let's turn the effects on. So this is at the same nominal level, -8, but it sounds louder. All right, so those are the small little things you guys can do. I didn't really go over Pro C2, but that's what I use on my vocals. Here's without it. Here's before. Okay, there's a difference in level, obviously, but here's before. This is just my raw vocal, just kind of straight what I sound like. Now with the compressor, I can back up from the mic and still sound the same loudness as if I get kind of close up on the mic. So that's the cool thing about a compressor. It will make everything feel more even, and that's the sound you get with that. All right, guys, to learn more, just follow the links to FabFilter. Peace out, guys.